He wasn't born into wealth. He didn't come from privilege. But Dennis Kozlowski climbed the American corporate ladder faster than most. And once he got to the top, he made the world his playground. A $6,000 shower curtain, a $2 million birthday bash, vodka flowing from ice sculptures on Mediterranean yachts, all paid for with shareholder money. This is the true story of how one CEO turned a Fortune 500 company into a personal ATM, and how it all came crashing down in a courtroom spectacle that shook Wall Street to its core. This isn't just about one man. It's about what happens when power meets greed in the boardrooms of corporate America. This is the story of Dennis Kozlowski, the CEO who threw million-dollar parties. Newark, New Jersey, a gritty city of narrow streets and working-class dreams. In the post-industrial haze of the 1950s, one young boy walks home from school with a worn-out backpack, passing shuttered factories and tired shopfronts. His name, Leo Dennis Kozlowski. Born 1946 to a police officer father and a modest household, Kozlowski was never handed wealth, but he was wired for it. While others chased neighborhood games, he obsessed over numbers. Quiet, calculated, and stubbornly driven, he wasn't aiming to escape Newark. He was plotting to conquer Wall Street. After graduating from Seton Hall University with an accounting degree, Kozlowski began the slow climb up the American corporate ladder. His early career was unremarkable until it wasn't. With every job, he earned a reputation as a relentless cost-cutter and strategic thinker. By the late 1980s, Tyco International, a modest New Hampshire company specializing in fire protection and industrial valves, was looking for a financial architect. Kozlowski entered the company in 1975 and rose steadily. In 1992, he became Tyco's CEO, just as the U.S. economy was recovering from a recession. What came next was nothing short of a corporate conquest. Kozlowski engineered Tyco's transformation using an aggressive acquisition strategy, swallowing companies faster than Wall Street could react. From healthcare to electronics, security systems to plastics, Tyco grew into a $100 billion giant, with operations in over 100 countries. Under Kozlowski's command, Tyco became a household name, and he became one of the most powerful Wall Street executives of the 1990s. But power was never enough. It had to be undeniable. As Tyco's profits soared, so did Dennis Kozlowski's ambitions. His CEO net worth skyrocketed, climbing into the hundreds of millions. But unlike other CEOs who cloak their wealth in spreadsheets and shareholder meetings, Kozlowski flaunted his. He wasn't just rich. He was rich, buying $30 million Manhattan apartments, multi-million-dollar art collections, and funding a lifestyle that seemed to mirror that of oil sheiks and Hollywood moguls. The acquisitions, the earnings reports, the stock splits, everything seemed golden. But beneath the surface of Tyco's balance sheet, something was beginning to rot. To maintain Wall Street's favor, Kozlowski pushed Tyco to grow at breakneck speed. Acquisitions weren't just business, they were smoke screens. Hidden beneath the quarterly success stories were creative accounting tactics, off-the-books bonuses, and a CEO who had blurred the line between company funds and personal wealth. But in this episode, that truth remains hidden. For now, the world sees Kozlowski as a self-made corporate genius, the embodiment of the American dream. Interviews show analysts calling him a visionary, magazines dubbing him the CEO's CEO, and stockholders cheering record dividends. The media loved him. Investors trusted him. Tyco employees idolized him. When the next episode, the curtain will begin to fall. Because while Kozlowski was busy building his empire, someone else was starting to ask questions. Not about the boardroom, but about the bathroom. Specifically, why it needed a $6,000 shower curtain. In the early 1990s, Tyco International was a low-profile manufacturing company, known for industrial tubing and under-the-radar operations. Not flashy, not famous, just functional. Enter Dennis Kozlowski. With freshly minted CEO credentials and a vision as large as his ego, Kozlowski wasn't looking to maintain. He was looking to multiply, and he wasn't going to wait years for organic growth. The crisis? Tyco was too small for Kozlowski's dreams. The only way to grow fast was to buy everything in sight. Kozlowski's business strategy was breathtakingly aggressive. He began acquiring companies at a rate of nearly one every week. Some big, some small, but all feeding into a rapidly expanding empire. Between 1992 and 2001, Tyco completed over 100 acquisitions, including major names like ADT Security Services, launching Tyco into the global security industry. U.S. Surgical, giving Tyco a foothold in the booming healthcare sector. Mallinckrodt Incorporated, expanding its reach in medical diagnostics and pharmaceuticals. Each acquisition was fast, funded with Tyco stock, and sold to shareholders as a masterstroke of synergy. Analysts called it a model for 21st century conglomerate building. Kozlowski called it efficient vertical integration. What really was? A corporate shopping spree with no breaks. As Tyco's market cap exploded, from $1.5 billion to nearly $100 billion, so did Kozlowski's reputation. He strutted into Fortune 500 rankings. Shareholders cheered. Wall Street fawned. But the truth was murkier. Tyco's books were a jigsaw puzzle, and Kozlowski was holding all the pieces. The acquisitions made Tyco look profitable, but the profits weren't always real. Many companies were loaded with goodwill, complex liabilities, and hidden losses. Still, on paper, Kozlowski looked like a corporate messiah, a CEO who could turn pipes and wires into Wall Street gold. And all the while, he was building something else. Beneath the surface, Kozlowski's personal empire was growing just as fast. The more Tyco acquired, the more complicated its financial structure became. That gave Kozlowski room to divert funds, mask questionable bonuses, and embed personal luxuries into corporate expenses. Lavish homes, rare art, luxury furniture, some of it purchased with Tyco money, hidden within acquisition costs or buried in executive perks. The acquisitions weren't just a business strategy. They were a cover, a way to balloon the company so large it could conceal the cracks forming in its foundations. But even the biggest empires eventually buckle. As Tyco's complexity grew, so did skepticism. Financial journalists began questioning the accounting. Analysts started whispering about debt. And inside the company, a few quiet voices were growing concerned about the invisible expenses buried beneath the deal sheets. The facade was starting to falter. And soon, a new headline would emerge. Not about a brilliant CEO or a fast-growing conglomerate, but about a birthday party, a $2 million celebration, and an ice sculpture that peed vodka. Wall Street had its icons, Warren Buffett, Jack Welch, and Dennis Kozlowski. But while others amassed fortunes quietly, Kozlowski made noise. His wealth wasn't subtle. It was symphonic. And at the heart of his orchestra of opulence was something most billionaires wouldn't dare flaunt. A $6,000 shower curtain. It wasn't a metaphor. It was real. And it was just one line on a very long list of outrageous CEO expenses that would soon expose one of the most bizarre chapters in American corporate history. Tyco International was booming. Kozlowski was hailed as a Wall Street visionary. The acquisitions were rolling. The stock price was climbing. Investors were thrilled. But while Tyco's books showed growth, its CEO was quietly using company money as a bottomless personal piggy bank. A $15,000 dog umbrella stand. A $2,200 wastebasket. Nearly $30 million in real estate renovations. Hundreds of thousands spent on fine art, luxury furniture, and antique rugs. At first, these expenses were buried inside executive budgets or masked as corporate enhancements. No one noticed, or at least no one dared to speak, until someone looked closer and found the shower curtain. The itemized spending report was meant to be routine, just a standard corporate audit. But when auditors flipped through the expense logs of Tyco's CEO, they found numbers that made no sense. $6,000 for a single shower curtain. $2,500 for coat hangers? What began as a curiosity quickly turned into a crisis. Journalists got wind of it. The $6,000 shower curtain headline exploded across newspapers, capturing public fury and government attention. Tyco's board of directors, once silent, now had a PR disaster on their hands. Wall Street analysts demanded answers. Shareholders demanded blood. And Dennis Kozlowski? He shrugged it off as a misunderstanding. But the damage was already done. For years, Kozlowski had been systematically blurring the line between personal luxury and company property. Tyco footed the bill for $17 million in art purchases, a $30 million Park Avenue apartment, lavish parties, private chefs, and boutique hotel suites disguised as executive retreats. He even charged Tyco for a $500,000 birthday bash in Sardinia. But that's a tale for episode 4. Behind the curtain of wealth, pun intended, was a scheme of quiet embezzlement, cloaked in corporate paperwork and buried in bonus structures. And yet, the most shocking part wasn't what Kozlowski bought. It was that no one stopped him. The curtain was pulled, literally and figuratively. The media frenzy intensified. Late-night comedians joked about gold-plated doghouses. Congressional committees launched investigations. The SEC moved in, and public opinion turned savage. The face of Tyco's success was now the poster boy for corporate greed. What once inspired admiration now stank of arrogance. And at the center of the storm was a simple bathroom accessory that cost more than most Americans' monthly salary. It wasn't just a birthday. It was a statement. In June 2001, Dennis Kozlowski threw a surprise party for his wife, Karen Mayo, on the Italian island of Sardinia. But this wasn't just a cake and candles kind of event. This was a $2 million extravaganza, paid, secretly, with Tyco company funds. The guest list included the elite of Wall Street, flown in on private jets. The venue? A sprawling yacht off the Mediterranean coast. The theme? Roman excess. And at the center of it all stood an ice sculpture, one that urinated chilled vodka. Kozlowski had already cemented himself as the architect of Tyco's meteoric rise. He was the man who turned industrial tubing into a global empire. With a $100 billion market cap and Wall Street at his feet, he now ruled like a king. But kings throw feasts, and Kozlowski's Sardinia bash was his Versailles. Tyco funds covered $2,200 for floral arrangements, $2,500 for party napkins, over $1 million for entertainment and decor, performances by Jimmy Buffett, private chefs, luxury liquor, and 5-star indulgences. This wasn't a party. It was a palace of distraction, and Kozlowski believed no one would notice. But someone did. A videotape from the party, meant to be private, was leaked. News outlets pounced. Headlines screamed, Tyco's CEO throws Roman orgy with company money. The ice sculpture, urinating vodka, became a symbol of everything wrong with executive excess. Public outrage erupted. Shareholders were livid. Tyco's board scrambled for answers. Corporate America gasped. Had Kozlowski crossed the final line? For years, Kozlowski justified personal luxuries as executive needs or business development. The Sardinia bash, labeled as a shareholder relations event. He hid the charges within layers of Tyco's global operations. He disguised personal expenses as company write-offs. He treated Tyco as his personal trust fund, lavish and unchecked. What looked like a wild birthday was in fact a breaking point, because now regulators were circling, and this time they weren't backing off. The tape, the receipts, the headlines, they all led to a new reality. Kozlowski wasn't just a CEO. He was now the face of corporate greed in America. And as the authorities began digging deeper, they discovered something even worse than $1 million party. They found millions in unauthorized bonuses, art deals, and fake loans. And it all led to one address, Dennis Kozlowski's penthouse. As public outrage swelled over the Sardinia scandal, investigators widened their lens. What they found was staggering. Kozlowski wasn't just living large, he was stealing large. Millions had been siphoned off in secret bonuses. Fake loans had been forgiven, and Tycho's art collection, mostly hanging in Kozlowski's Manhattan apartment. The party was over. The audit trail had begun. Kozlowski, alongside CFO Mark Schwartz, had crafted an elaborate system to authorize bonuses without board approval. These weren't small perks. They were multi-million-dollar paydays, funneled through a maze of subsidiaries. They gave themselves $81 million in unauthorized bonuses, $37 million in forgiven loans, another $14 million in art and property reimbursements. Everything looked legal until you peeled back the spreadsheets. In 2002, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office indicted Kozlowski and Schwartz for grand larceny, securities fraud, and falsifying business records. Tycho's stock price collapsed overnight. Investors panicked. Employees lost trust. Kozlowski, once celebrated as a titan of industry, was now booked, fingerprinted, and paraded before cameras. The defense? Denial. Kozlowski insisted the board had full knowledge. He claimed the bonuses were deserved. The art was part of Tycho's aesthetic strategy. But prosecutors painted a different picture, one of deliberate deceit, backdated documents, and systematic looting. In the court of public opinion, he was already guilty. In 2005, Kozlowski and Schwartz were found guilty on 22 counts. Kozlowski was sentenced to 8.33 to 25 years in prison. From penthouses to prison cells, the fall was complete. But the questions lingered. How did it go unnoticed for so long? And what does this say about the culture of unchecked corporate power? The world watched as Dennis Kozlowski, once hailed as a Wall Street visionary, stood before a jury of everyday Americans. His empire, his reputation, his freedom, all on trial. Charges: grand larceny, conspiracy, falsifying business records, securities fraud. This wasn't just a trial of a CEO. It was a trial of corporate America itself. The courtroom buzzed with intensity. Prosecutors detailed how Kozlowski and CFO Mark Schwartz looted more than $150 million from Tycho. Exhibits included the $6,000 shower curtain, the Sardinian birthday tape, handwritten bonus memos with no board approval. Defense attorneys argued it was compensation, not crime, blessed by Tycho's board. But the evidence was overwhelming, and public sentiment had already turned against Kozlowski. Then came the unexpected. The first trial ended in mistrial. Why? A juror, reportedly influenced by press attention, made the mistake of giving the okay sign to defense attorneys, triggering a media frenzy. It was a mistrial that rocked the case and gave Kozlowski a temporary lifeline. But prosecutors regrouped quickly. The second trial came with sharper focus, more witnesses, and damning evidence. In 2005, after months of testimony, the verdict dropped like a gavel of thunder. Guilty on 22 counts. Throughout the trial, Kozlowski maintained that Tycho's complex bonus system was legitimate, that the money was deserved, that he was just another successful CEO doing what others quietly did. But the jury didn't buy it. The layers of manipulation, unauthorized bonuses, disguised perks, secret art deals, spoke louder than any tailored suit or rehearsed testimony. Kozlowski had crossed a line, and this time there would be consequences. The sentence? 8 years and 4 months to 25 years in prison. He was fined $70 million. The courtroom gasped. Tycho's stock had already plummeted. Shareholders had been burned. But now corporate boardrooms across America felt the chill. The message was clear. No suit is too expensive to escape justice. In 2005, Dennis Kozlowski traded corner offices for concrete walls. From private jets to prison jumpsuits. From boardrooms to block cells. For 6 years, he lived behind bars, in the very system he once thought he'd never touch. But what happened after he got out? Did he change? Or did the world change him? Kozlowski was released on parole in 2014. At the time, he was in his late 60s, his empire dismantled, his reputation tattered. What was left? No companies, no millions, no Armani-clad board meetings, but also no bitterness. He quietly began to rebuild a new identity, one not as a tycoon, but as a cautionary figure in the world of ethics and accountability. He gave talks on corporate governance, participated in charity work, and even became chairman of a nonprofit aimed at criminal justice reform. Irony or redemption? In public interviews, Kozlowski admitted, "I was greedy. I lost touch with reality." But was it genuine remorse or polished media training? Critics remained divided. Some saw a man humbled by consequence. Others saw a PR rebrand, a ghost of a former king trying to rewrite his ending. His face now symbolized corporate excess, and not everyone was willing to forgive. Kozlowski's post-prison persona was measured, introspective, even regretful. But skeptics pointed out, he still lives comfortably, he still skirts full responsibility, and he's never fully repaid what many believe he owes the American public. Was it self-awareness or spin? Today, Kozlowski remains a living lesson. Not entirely hated, not entirely forgiven, just remembered. Not as a business legend, but as the man who threw million-dollar parties with shareholder money and called it leadership. His story isn't just about crime. It's about what happens when ambition forgets accountability. Dennis Kozlowski is gone from Tyco, but his shadow still lingers. He wasn't the first CEO to fall, and he certainly won't be the last. From Enron to Theranos, from Bernie Ebbers to Sam Bankman-Fried, America has a long list of executives turned criminals. But why do we keep seeing this pattern? Why do boardrooms breed greed? It starts with a story we love to hear, the rags-to-riches underdog. Kozlowski fit the mold, a working-class kid from Newark who rose to the top. We celebrate these ascents. We reward boldness, dominance, profit. And in doing so, we often overlook the cracks forming beneath the marble floors. In corporate America, short-term gains eclipse long-term ethics. The system doesn't just reward success. It glorifies aggressive risk, unchecked power, and lavish lifestyles. When CEOs deliver shareholder value, no one asks where the money really comes from until it's too late. The Kozlowski case should have been a wake-up call. Instead, it became a template. We saw echoes of it in Lehman Brothers, 2008, Wells Fargo's fake accounts, 2016, FTX collapse, 2022. Each scandal began with a visionary leader and ended with a courtroom. And just like Kozlowski's $6,000 shower curtain, the signs were always there, just hidden beneath spreadsheets and charm. Corporate fraud doesn't always wear handcuffs. Sometimes it wears a Rolex and a press release. Boards look the other way. Auditors get cozy. And regulators? Often late to the scene. It's not just about one bad CEO. It's about a culture of complicity, where as long as the stock price goes up, ethics go down. And when the fall happens, we act shocked. But we built the pedestal. We gave him the power. Dennis Kozlowski became the face of executive greed, but the system that created him remains largely untouched. The real question isn't whether Kozlowski was corrupt. The real question is, how many Kozlowskis are still out there? How many are running companies today, protected by the same silence, the same loopholes, the same worship of the bottom line? This isn't just a cautionary tale. It's a mirror held up to us all. This concludes our 8-part series, Dennis Kozlowski, the CEO who threw million-dollar parties. Do you believe corporate America has truly learned its lesson? Or are we just waiting for the next scandal to surface? Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for more real stories of ambition, corruption, and the hidden costs of power. Coming soon, new series, Money Traps, True Stories of Financial Greed. Stay tuned. The greed never sleeps.
If this story gripped you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Smash that notification bell. Because if you don't stay informed, you just might become the next story we tell.